Hey everyone, welcome back. So we are live. It's Saturday, so thank you so much for coming in to watch this. It's like 5:15 Central Standard Time right now, so I know a lot of you guys are busy. Hopefully you guys can watch this later on, but I think it's a pretty important video today that we're going to discuss is obviously how did the miners do this past week along with Bitcoin, so comparison for those two. And then we'll take a look at the impact that the HODL has on, well, with the new FASB rules on EPS or earnings per share for the quarter for the miners. We're not going to dive too deep into it because we're not going to take into account any of the expenses or even the revenue side of things. But we can kind of take a look at those things. We just kind of want to take a really look at FASB and HODL, how that will possibly impact EPS. Okay, so as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. I'm investing in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. Also hit the notification bell. That way you get notified when I do go live or put out a new video. And corrections will be posted to Discord, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm not paid by any public Bitcoin mining company, for full disclosure, as always. And let's take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin really quick, and then we'll get into the other things as well. Bitcoin right now is kind of, excuse me, back to right around where it was, well, about yesterday, last night when we did the video on some things here. But it's right around 63,331 right now. I mean, there's not much going on with it. It's at the weekend, which is kind of good, right? We don't want any big swings up or down. So we'll keep an eye on it. It's still obviously reacting to this kind of support at 63,700. We'll see if we can close above it. Obviously, it did go down a little bit here, but it came back up. So we'll see how that goes going forward into this weekend. And then obviously we'll see on Monday how it actually did. Okay, so we're not really going to dive too deep into it. Let's take a look at, we'll get into this here shortly. But first, let's jump into the weekly Bitcoin versus the Bitcoin miners. Excuse me here. Just to see how they did. And as always, on the first chart that we look at here is how far the miners are up from their 52-week lows and how far the miners are away from their 52-week highs percentage-wise. So you can still see here that Cleanspark is still outperforming everybody here. It's up 477% from its 52-week lows, followed by TeraWolf at 177, then you got Marathon 171, Bitcoin's up 157, so those have outperformed Bitcoin here in the last 52 weeks. From the lows at least, if you look at it that way. Cypher, it would be afterwards 155%. Then you got BitDeer 129, Bitfarms 113, Iris only 82%, Riot 52, Hut 36%, Core 33%, BitDigital 31%, and Hive only 20%. And you can see here that Bitcoin's only 13% away from its 52-week high. And then you got Cypher only 21% away from that, and then Cleanspark at 22%, and then everybody else is kind of like in the high 30s. 40s and even 50s and 60s here, percentage-wise, away from the 52-week highs. Okay. Now, how did the miners do this past week against Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin was pretty much flat. I track it Friday to Friday, and Bitcoin was down just like 0.00 something percentage-wise. It was barely barely noticeable. So everybody pretty much has outperformed here Bitcoin this past week. Bitfarms was up 2%, Iris 3%, you got Hut 8 and BitDeer up 5% roughly. TeraWolf up 8%, Cleanspark and Core up 12%, Hive up 13%, BitDigital up 17% along with Cypher, Marathon up 18%, and Riot had a really good week. It was up 31% this past week, which was kind of nice to see here. If we look at 4 weeks out, things change a little bit here. Bitcoin's actually down 6% here, and then we got quite a few that have actually outperformed it since 4 weeks ago. You had Iris up being up 10%, Hut 8 being up 12%, TeraWolf up being 39%, Cleanspark up 10%, Cypher 27%, Riot 3%, BitDigital 5%, Core up 2%, and then you got Hive being down 1%, BitDeer down 21%, Bitfarms down 13% at that point. So we do have quite a few miners that have outperformed from 4 weeks ago. On the 8 weeks chart, things get a little bit more wild here. Everything is pretty much down here except, well, Bitcoin's down 7% from 8 weeks ago, and the only ones that are up is Cypher is up 34%, Cleanspark's up 38%, TeraWolf is up 12%, and Hut 8 is actually up 1% from 8 weeks ago. Okay, but everybody else here is down. Going to the 12 weeks, things get really weird there. Bitcoin's up 35% from 12 weeks ago. Only other companies that did better would be TeraWolf being up 45%, Cypher up 38%, and Cleanspark up 136% from then. And then you have a couple companies that were single-digit gains here. Percentage gains, BitDeer, Marathon, and Riot only up 2% apiece. You got BitDigital down 21%, Hive being down 16%, Hut down 15%, and Bitfarms being down 20%, along with Iris being down 1%. So that's kind of interesting the way that has stacked up here. Looking at our table here, we've had a really good green week here for the miners, right? Maybe some of the miners are kind of maybe front running a little bit here because we're going to have earnings releases coming up in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? We have quite a few coming up here. Maybe they're front running that. Plus, they had a pretty bad week last week, the prior week. We were in the red. So maybe that was just part of it as well. Bitcoin didn't do so bad either. It was pretty flat here. And then you can see how the rest of the week stuff kind of shaped up. We're having maybe this will be a trend of things to come where it's going to be a little bit more green here. But we'll see, obviously, right? We always have that fear of sell in May and go away, right? For the summer, people have vacations, things like that. And we'll see if that plays out this time around. And maybe we won't get a rally until like late summer, early fall, going into winter like we did in last cycle as well a little bit. Okay. But that is it for this. Let's take a look at the FASB stuff and HODL. So I pulled in all the data that I have on the miners for so far, at least, right? We're looking at shares out, stock price. Stock price is, I think, 2 days old right now. I think I updated it on Thursday, so don't worry about that. Market cap, HODL start. So we're looking at what was the end of December HODL, right? So that's kind of the starting point that we're using for HODL there. And then we're using the end HODL, which is at the end of March. So I pulled in all those numbers for all these guys here. I also set the BTC price at the end of December 31st, right? What was that closing price on it? And this was the value on the start of their HODL. So that's their HODL balance. And then looking at the end of March, 3/31/24, this is the value of Bitcoin at that point, or the price of Bitcoin on that day where it closed. And then we have the end HODL. And then obviously we're looking at the FASB part of it, which is obviously either the appreciation on Bitcoin or going down in value, I guess you could say. That's being calculated by these two numbers here. So we're just taking the end HODL, subtracting it from the start HODL, and that's how we're getting how much did they appreciate their HODL stack based on where Bitcoin price went up to, okay? So we have all this for everybody here, and we can see here that BitDigital got about 41 million appreciation in that, or increase, right, in the value of it. BitDeer doesn't HODL anything, so they got 0. Bitfarms, there's a question. I highlighted this one, and Hive, because I don't believe they can take advantage of the FASB rules because they are based in Canada and they report on a different standard. So I don't think they can take advantage of it, but I do have the information in here just in case if they did, relocate to like the United States where it's obviously the FASB rules are in play, what impact that would have on them. And you can see those results here. So that would give them another 23.5 million. Cypher 90 million. And you got Cleanspark at 231 million additional, right? Basically, it's not revenue, but it's an increase in the value of their holdings. CORZ 0, they don't HODL anything. Hive 90.9 million, it's almost 91 million. Hut 8, 260 million. And then you got Iris 0, right? They don't HODL anything. Marathon 598 million, that's huge. That's the biggest one here. And then Riot's the second biggest here, 294 million. Increase in that. And that all goes down to basically the earnings per share. Right, so if we look at one of these guys here, I think I was looking at Cleanspark here earlier. If you look at their revenue side of things here, where's it at? Here it is. So right, gain of fair value of Bitcoin, see note 2 and note 5. This is basically where they revalued their Bitcoin holdings for their Q1, which was the end of December. Right, so that was a negative 36 million basically. And that's going against their expenses here on that side of things. So that obviously helped them have a positive EPS here. Where did it go? They had a positive EPS of 14 cents, right, on that. So that's the way it's going to work out probably for all these guys here that do take advantage of the FASB rules. Okay, so I just want to point out how that works. Because without it, they would be a negative EPS. Okay, so biggest ones here, obviously Marathon, based on the number of shares. So I took the number of shares that they have currently, right? We're going to get probably updated numbers here from them when they do report the Q1 results, but this is based on what I have right now. I took the FASB amount, the gain, the increase in value on that, and divided it by the number of shares outstanding to get basically an EPS on the HODL, right? What was that earnings per share based on HODL? And you can see here that BitDigital is gaining about 38 cents additional on top of their earnings here based on the HODL position. BitDeer obviously 0. Bitfarms only 7 cents, right? They have a lot of shares out, not a huge HODL stack. So that's obviously, they can't take advantage of it anyways, I don't believe. You had Cypher gaining about 31 cents to the EPS. Cleanspark $1.03. CORZ doesn't have anything. Hive $1.03. Hut 8, $2.93. That's a huge increase into their EPS. So if you look at it this way, if a company broke even, just say that they broke even on operations, right? Revenue, expenses, all those things, they basically came in at zero. This would still put them at $2.93 per EPS, right? That's kind of the way to look at it. Iris at zero, obviously. Marathon, $2.24, also really huge here. Riot, $1.16, right? A huge increase for them as well. So you can see what kind of an impact it can have on EPS, right? So when we talk with or talk about some of the miners that don't HODL, some of these guys obviously, I mean, Terrell states that they don't HODL, right? But they're based in the United States, so they could take advantage of the FASB rules, but they don't HODL, so they don't take advantage of that. But you can see what a HODL can do for a earnings per share number or figure for the stocks themselves, right? Just if you take out, like I said, let's say they came in at zero with earnings per share based on their operations, but I don't expect it to be the case anyways because Bitcoin's obviously gone up, way up. We had higher than expected transaction fees in the first quarter as well. So that all impacts that. So you can take this and whatever you think their EPS is going to be for self-mining, basically this is all for self-mining, and add this on top of it. And you can see that these stocks are probably going to do really, really well here when they do report on their quarterly results. That's at least my expectation here. Okay. Let's go through really quick one by one and look at the revenue side of things for each miner here really quick while we're talking about it here. So for BitDeer, for their self-mining here for the quarter, I have them estimated at, let me see, current monthly average, current quarter estimated revenue, here it is. 93 million for BitDeer, right? BitDigital is going to be at, let's see here, current quarter, 21.9 million just for the self-mining. Bitfarms is going to be at roughly 49 million, right? So you can see it. Oh, you can even see it up here. So you can see a nice increase there on top of it. So that's good there. Cypher going up here. I'm estimating about, what is that? I got a weird number here. We're looking at 47 million here, potentially for Cypher. Cleanspark is going to be at, let's see here, 111 million, right? That's a huge increase also for them. So add that on top of what their HODL is adding to it as well. CORZ Scientific, I'm estimating about 149 million here for them. Hive right now is looking like they're going to have, did I go too far? Nope. 35 million, so nice little increase there as well. Hut 8, that one's going to be a little bit trickier here. We'll have to see how that number plays out for them based on what they reported here, but I have them at about 44 million for self-mining. IREN is going to be at, let's see, excuse me. IREN's going to be about 53.9 million. Based on my estimates here. Marathon is going to be at current quarter revenue 130 million, right? And that one, so that's huge there as well. Could have been better if their operations were better, right? Could have been probably closer to 200 million. And then what do we have here? We got, this is Riot. Riot is going to be at approximately 71.9 million for their self-mining. TeraWolf is going to be at 43 million. And that's it. So when you look at that, add those figures to it, subtract some costs, expenses. And you can see how this, obviously, the HODL with the FASB impact has a huge impact on, obviously, the EPS for the miners, I think, going for Q1 especially. But things will change, obviously, when we get into Q2 numbers. Depending where Bitcoin goes, if Bitcoin's flat for that period, there's not going to be that huge gain for them based on that. If Bitcoin actually goes down a little bit, I mean, we were at 71,000 here basically to start off Q2. If Bitcoin goes down to 65, 63,000, they're going to possibly have a little bit of a loss here on that. That's going to have to be accounted for. Plus, we had the halving event as well. So that's something to take into account as well. It's not going to be a full halving, but it's going to be a partial halving, I guess you could say, half a halving, because they did mine, partially for April, right? April was basically the first month in Q2. So they will have some full uptime or full BTC rewards before the halving event. And then those came down, but they did get some BTC transaction fees in there as well. So it's going to be definitely harder for these guys to produce these types of numbers again unless Bitcoin starts actually going up and much higher. Okay, so that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's get into the Q&A side of things if you guys have any questions. And as always, the spreadsheet and all the stuff that I do and track and all the miners is available to the Patreon members. The link for that is in the description down below. And that's $8 a month. Right now, you might be able to find a spot that's $5 or $4. And then if you pay the annual fee, it's 10% less. Okay. That's it. That's my little sales pitch there. And you also get access to the private Discord server as well. Okay. So let's get into Q&A side of things. We'll try to keep it maybe 10, 15 minutes or so, because I got to run to a birthday party. So let's see if you guys have any questions on this stuff. Also, we're like 15 to 20 seconds delayed a little bit here on this. Let's see. Okay, got our first question. So why is Bitfarms' outstanding shares so high compared to the other miners? They've been public for a lot longer. They've been public since like 2017, I want to say, something like that. So that's the reason mainly why. They've been through more. They've been through probably one extra cycle than some of these guys have been through. So they've diluted, obviously, to grow during those cycles and now into this cycle as well. So that's why the numbers are high for them. Next question here. Excuse me. What do you think of BitDigital as an AI investment? They have low market cap, seems a lot of upside. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. And depending on how the AI side of things comes out, right, with the quarterly results, we really want to see is how profitable are they, right? They have obviously a great customer that they're dealing with, where they're getting 50 million a year in revenue for it. But what's the profit margin like on it, right? They also are hosting the servers with a third party, right? So they got to pay them, and then they got to obviously get paid from the customer. So I think that's what a lot of investors are waiting for, to see how that is transitioning, or what's the return on capital on there, what's the profit margin on it, and things like that. Once we have that information, I think things will maybe look a little bit better for them. And I think we need to just have them grow some more with their own self-mining hash rate for Bitcoin. Let's see. Okay. Regarding Cleanspark, do you think before their earnings will have a meltdown? Before their earnings will have a meltdown? Oh, you mean the stock price? I don't know. We'll see how things play out. We have, about 2 weeks before they report, something like that? Or no, they're reporting, when is it, on the 8th? I can't remember. Too many dates in my head. But they're reporting like a week and a half or something like that. Depending where Bitcoin goes, the stock might have a little bit of a meltdown, but it doesn't seem like it right now. Let's see here. Question, what miners are you looking to add next week? If we have a little bit of dip, even if we don't have a little bit of dip, I still want to buy a little bit more Bitfarms to get to my allocation that I want to get to. Right, I'm not too far off from that, and I'm going to start getting more possibly into, I know I'm going to be getting more into IREN, I think. On that one, I think those two right now might be some of the more undervalued potentially. All right, that's kind of what I'm looking at. What's stopping miners from diluting? Nothing. Right, if they have to grow, if they want to grow, they're going to dilute. There's really no good debt out there as far as debt financing, things like that. So the best way for them is to dilute and obviously grow that way. But as long as it's accretive to investors, I'm okay with it. Hi Sebastian, are you still bullish on Bitfarms? Yes, I am still bullish on Bitfarms. As long as they can, we'll have to see how they continue going forward, but I think they should be okay. There's obviously a lot of FUD with them, with Paraguay, with Canada, the taxes, the tariffs, and everything else. The new CEO that they're looking for. So there's just a lot of FUD out there right now. And I try to live by the motto, be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. Right? So people are fearful right now, so I'm being greedy. I'm buying more shares as much as I can. Let's see. Do you see Riot dropping to $11 next week? I don't know. If it does drop, if you're an investor in them, dollar cost average into them, I think they will have a pretty good quarter. I'm thinking, based on what I'm seeing here as far as the FASB rules and things like that, that they should be able to take advantage of as well. Plus, Bitcoin going up in value, they're mining pretty well. I think they should do pretty good here. And they're also just energized Corsicana facility. We'll get some information in there, and they are going to be providing conference call for the quarterly results as well, which they haven't done in a while. So that'll be good there. Have you seen the SDIG Q1 results? I have not. I've just kind of perused them when they did report, but I have to actually put the data into my spreadsheet here, which I will probably do tomorrow. I got SDIG, and I got also, I think Argo is supposed to be putting out their information as well. So I got those two that I need to look at. Sounds like you prefer Bitfarms versus Cypher. How come? Cypher has run up here a little bit here recently, and Cypher's growth is not as high as Bitfarms is for this year. That's really what I'm looking for, is a growth. Bitfarms is supposed to get to 21 exahash. I believe Cypher is supposed to get, I can correct me on this, was it 12, 14 exahash? I'm going with my memory here. My memory could be off. But they do have an option to obviously buy more miners this year if they build out their Black Pearl site, which would be great if they could do that. And then that would obviously get them much higher hash rate as well, which would be good. But I'm looking for growth this year. Let's see. Does Timberwolf have any growth plans to a higher exahash like IREN does to 20? Also, thank you very much for all the value you provide. Oh, you're very welcome. So right now, they've stated that they want to grow, but we haven't heard any purchases of machines, miners yet, at least not right now, right? So there's really nothing that I have in them for them. If I look at my spreadsheet, I try to keep a really, really good record of when miners buy, and I don't have anything else for them other than the 8.3 exahash that they're supposed to get to or something like that, and that's total with the JV, right? So that's all I have right now currently. So we'll have to see what they do, but they obviously are working to pay off their debt. I think that's the biggest concern for them is getting that debt paid off. And then after that, then they'll probably start pulling, obviously, a lot harder or faster on growth going forward. Okay. Let's see. Price targets for Bitfarms, IREN, Cleanspark by the end of the year. If Bitcoin hits 100,000, well, Bitcoin hits 100,000, you're going, what, up what is that, like 0.4x, something like that. So it's not even 2x or anything like that. So if Bitcoin goes up there, I mean, you can see the miners maybe going 2-3x potentially at that point, right? It just all depends when and how well the miners grow, things like that. It's hard to tell. Let's see. You choose Bitfarms only because Ben and his knowledge, or you believe in the company. If Ben steps away, you still believe in them. I mean, Ben is obviously a mastermind there, right? As far as the operations side of things there. Ben's very knowledgeable. He's been in this space for a long time. If Ben steps aside or goes to another company or goes into early retirement for whatever reason, that would make me think twice, but I think that the roadmap that they have right now to 21 exahash is pretty much set in stone. It's just based on executing on it, right? So there's not much more that Ben can do. Obviously, maybe some of the contacts, the information that he has, and all those things that could possibly help out. But that could be replaced, but it would be tough. I think going forward, I'm just brainstorming here in my head right now. It might be tough. I may have to pull a little bit off the plate at that point if that happens. We'd have to see how they do without him going forward. What broker do you recommend? I don't recommend any brokers. I can tell you I've used all of them, E-Trade, Schwab, who else is out there? Webull, I've used Robinhood, Coinbase, depending on what you're getting into and things like that. I'll stick with the big names, the big guys, and you should be fine. Let's see. Is there a way to add a predictions column to the spreadsheet for possible upcoming dilutions? Probably low, medium, and high. I mean, yeah, we could possibly add it in there. I mean, depending on what you want to look at. There's so many things that we look at metrics-wise that include share count. Just depending on what that is. If you have access to the spreadsheets through the Patreons, I mean, you can put those in any way you want on that one. Okay, let's see here. I think we are caught up on all the questions here from you guys. I don't see any other questions. And that is perfect timing because I get going here in a little bit, like I said, to the birthday party. But yeah, we'll see how things progress going forward with the miners, obviously. And we'll see what happens later on this week. Obviously, we're going to be starting, May next week as well. So that's going to be interesting to see. Where's my thing that I'm trying to find here? There we go. I think this is it. That is it. Okay. So we'll see how things progress. Also, I have finally got my Bitcoin node up and running. That is fully updated now. I'm at the latest block, which is great. Next step for me is going to be trying to get the data from the Bitcoin blockchain into a database, and then we'll start running some metrics on that as well, things like that I think might be kind of fun going forward. And then we'll cover, obviously, next week the production updates from the miners. When they do report, we'll go over the quarterly results as well. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening later on this week as well. It's going to be fun and exciting. But I think we're still early. Based on where we are right now in the cycle with Bitcoin, I think we're still very early. So I think we have a great opportunity to dollar cost average in if you are, like I am. And then, just have to be patient until Bitcoin rallies to a new all-time high, much, much, much higher from where it's at right now. And then we can start possibly, obviously selling some of this stuff here and hopefully with good profits. Okay, but that's it. That's the game plan kind of. But otherwise, I wish you guys a great weekend. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. Greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you guys probably on Monday. Next live show is going to be on Wednesday. All right, that's it. Have a great weekend. I'll see you then.